All right. Apologies for the late start. We are going to wait for a few people to filter in here. I'm going to send this out. All right. So we are all set here. Okay. So last week, since I guess we last had this last Wednesday, I fielded a lot of questions. I've talked to a lot of different people, and I am tweaking our curriculum here a little bit. So today I was primarily going to talk a little bit more in depth again on real estate and the VA loan, which you guys know is my big thing. That's what I love talking about. But we're going to talk about some other stuff today. The primary thing that we're going to talk about is fear and getting started. This is, if you're in the military and you passed, the ASVAB or whatever, and you've gotten yourself into the military, I can pretty much guarantee you have at least the bare necessity mental competence to do everything that I've talked about. It is, it's on the math side, it's basic arithmetic and algebra, it's adding, subtracting, maybe some percentages. Like the math portion of this stuff is not rocket science. And all the other stuff is, if you can read, which most of you can, and if you can't read, that's totally fine. You can just use apps like Speechify or just listen to Audible, and you don't have to read. So there's always workarounds, right? But the number one thing that I've been struggling with this, because I know the system, I know what I've done works. I've helped other people to do it. The thing that seems to be holding up the most people is the initial start. It's all you see on the news is doom and gloom and interest rates and home prices and everything else. Once you start, like, you have to get over that initial leap. And I want to tell you, we'll talk this like in detail, because I'll go back to, the economy now, aside from a couple of factors, there's never really a good time to enter. And there's also never a bad time to start. And most people just have to come to terms with that. Like, everybody looks for this, like, I'm going to get in at the perfect time. Like, I'm just going to wait. I'm going to wait. Waiting is the absolute fucking worst thing that you could do. Period. Like, if you're waiting for the right time, don't follow me. Don't listen to anything that I say. Just go do you. And I do wish you the best. I never wish ill upon anybody, but waiting, in my opinion, is the worst thing that you could possibly do for yourself. The crux, like the problem, is most people get stuck in the door. Like I say, I just had this conversation. I was like, I've never been in an airborne unit, but I have jumped out of planes. I got my skydiving license. The people, it's the analogy. It's like, you get stuck in the door. You're right there. You're on the crux, and you're about to go out the door, and you get stuck, and you put your hands up like, I don't want to jump. And then, like, basically everybody, not everybody, but basically everybody that jumps out of a plane is like, that's the greatest thing. Like, that's so much fun. Like, once they get out the door, right? But it's getting over that initial fear of actually taking the leap. So what I'm going to do today, which is a little bit different than what I normally would have talked about, is I'm going to talk my personal struggles of like getting started and not being ready to go and not having all the, my ducks in a row and like not being perfect, being very much imperfect and very much in the beginning incompetent. I had a good, positive attitude, but like I started all this stuff, everything that I built now, I started during COVID, and COVID was a slugfest. I mean, it was like my initial stint in business was I'm going to start a short-term rental company, which I did. I started the LLC. I started to find owners that were willing to, rent out or lease their properties, and we were off to a great start. I was like, oh my god, I'm actually doing this. And then COVID happened, and we had a like global travel pandemic, and I lost probably $25,000, just bled cash for like 5 or 6 months until I was able to finally negotiate with the landlords, and we were able to make a plan and so on and so forth. But I basically just lost money. Airbnb, they canceled 100% of our reservations, lost everything. Like we were about to have I remember this vividly. We were about to have a $10,000. I was about to make $10,000 in net profit in that month. It was March of 2020. And that was 10 grand before the month started. This was like February, and it was all of our pre-bookings. And I think we were at like 40% occupancy prior to the month of March. So I was like, oh my God, like we've got 10K. That was the most amount of money I've ever made in my life. I never actually made it. Like it went away. It got eviscerated because COVID happened. Right. So I lost like basically 20, 25 grand off the bat. Like first couple of months, within the first year of doing business, basically went belly up. But that was great because then I pivoted and I was like, I have goals. I know where I want to go. I have to figure out a way of getting there. So then what I did was I pivoted into looking at long-term buy and hold real estate. I just moved. You play Frogger, right? You figure out what works and you try and get across the street and not get crushed, right? So with that, I then pivoted into long-term buy and hold real estate. I looked at travel nurses. I looked at, midterm stays, stuff that wasn't, restricted, right? And then I started like aggressively looking for properties. And I had people that were close to me tell me I'm, crazy. I'm going to lose all my money. I should wait, and I should wait for the market to rebound and everything else. Good, bad, or indifferent. I generally try to believe that most people have good intentions when they tell you to do something, when they advise you. That was horrendous in advice, point blank. 5 years later, like had I not taken the initiative when I had no knowledge and was just blindly believing in myself that I was just going to keep going, I would have not been able, like I have great interest rates on a large portion of my stuff. And that's because at that time of uncertainty, I moved forward when other people were not. And I genuinely believe, there's a quote out there and it says, be bold and mighty forces will come to your aid. And I believe that. And not only do I believe that, I'm living proof that every time I have been bold in the face of adversity or in the face of uncertainty, I call it FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt. I don't say that. I mean, that's a commonly known thing, but like in the face of FUD, in the face of fear, adversity, and doubt, I still manage to move forward. And it's not because I'm some superhuman, I didn't do very well academically in college. Like I'm not a gigabrain, but it's your ability. The reason I'm explaining all this stuff to you is like, I had a lot of shit that went wrong early on. And I had a bad boss. I had, just a million different things were going on in my life at this time. My grandfather passed away right before COVID. So I was dealing with that. He was very close to me. Really looked up to him. Like it was a mess. And life doesn't really it doesn't present you with this perfect opportunity, right? Like, if you follow me for a while, like I talk about my traveling, right? There's never some perfect time when it's perfect to go on one of these trips. You kind of just make it work. It's the same thing with business. And what I want you to understand is when you are bold and when you take that action, because nobody can predict the future. But hold on one sec. I know this is semi-unprofessional, but this is an important call. So you're never really like, hey, I'm ready to go. Like, this is a great time to enter. You just have to be bold in those moments. So let's talk a little bit deeper. Anybody? That was an initial opening vignette. What questions do you guys have thus far? I know we haven't seen very many questions on these, and I dump a lot of information. I talk a lot. But what questions do you guys have thus far? Nothing heard. Okay. All right. So let's talk. Let's talk a little bit more about your background as a service member. Okay. So, one of the main reasons why we live in an inherently dangerous world, and that doesn't matter, that doesn't, just if you're not even if you're not special operations or an infantryman or you're in some combat arms role, our jobs are still inherently dangerous. Even like the motor pool is a dangerous job. There's tens of thousands of pounds, hundreds of thousands of pounds of machinery, and there's stuff that can like really hurt a human body, right? Like there's dangerous stuff, right? So it's ironic because we're always kind of in a state of, like jets, guns, helicopters, explosives, cannons, rockets. Those things are all dangerous, right? And we don't bat an eye, and we don't get paid any more or less. Unless you go deploy, you get like what, $150 extra of combat pay, and they say don't pay taxes, which is great, but you don't really get paid more or less whether you go much more, right? When you go to combat or you're in the motor pool or whatever, right? So we're used to risk, but once it's outside of what we normally like are accustomed to think or believe is acceptable or whatever, when you talk about like risk, oh, there's risk in real estate, like you're going to lose your money, like it's ingrained in our brain from the command structure to be like risk adverse, like you're waiting on orders and everything. The entrepreneurship world, the investor world, that the world of that, all of that stuff is on the other side of the world. It's 180 degrees in the opposite direction. Okay. There's risk in everything. And we see the military and our jobs as like it's a safe bet, but it's also not really, because kind of at any given time, there could be a policy change. There could be a downsizing, something could happen. You end up getting kicked out. And like, then you're now out there, like hoping just to get another job or something like that. Right. But we are always in the mindset of like, we're going to wait for somebody else to tell us what to do. There's, we can't challenge authority, X, Y, or Z. And everything about being an entrepreneur is challenging that. You're challenging the status quo. That is what drives the world forward. Good, bad, or indifferent. It is those individuals that challenge the status quo. They challenge authority. They ask questions. They question everything. They're not risk adverse. They don't wait for orders. They just go out and do. And that is how pretty much all of modern society was built. Okay. And at least in business too, because like everything that you see in life that's man-made started as somebody's idea in their brain, and then they manifested, they put it into the real world, and they brought it into reality by working and challenging. And like, I mean, look at it. It's like everybody thinks that most of these inventors or a lot of these other entrepreneurs, they think they're crazy until they actually make the thing happen. And then everybody thinks they're a genius, right? It's the same thing, right? Everybody thought that I was crazy, that I got, I bought all this real estate now it looks like it was a great time. But a lot of people were like, you're crazy. The market's crashing. We're in a recession from COVID and blah, blah, blah. I didn't, maybe it was ignorance. I don't know, but I didn't listen to any of that. And I just kept moving forward. And now it looks great. because I cash flow thousands and thousands of dollars each month. I got rock bottom interest rates, but also at the same time, I'm still buying. I just bought in January of this year, 7.5% interest rate, still making it work in every economy. And everything that I tell you guys, I do. I will not tell you to, or not like be like, hey, you should do this. And then I don't fucking do that thing. I do. And I have walked every inch of the journey that I am explaining to you all. And I will continue to be by your side. That's why I'm building School of Great, is a community of people that move together. They move forward together. So everything that I'm doing, or everything that I'm explaining to you guys, there's still opportunities to buy. There's still good deals to be had, right? You can still be bold, and I can't guarantee what the future is going to hold, but let's look at something very simple, right? If interest rates, if I buy today, right, I bought 7.5% interest rate, right? And I live about an hour outside of a major city. So yeah, I have a commute if I want to go to the city, or I just also like living out here because it's amazing. I'm in the middle of nature, right? But that's just me. But if that was the right property and that was the right price and I could make that work, and I knew that buying real estate was the right thing for me and it's going to move me forward financially, I'm going to make that commitment and be like, I'm just going to drive for the next year while I'm house hacking this property. I'm going to drive into the city if I got to commute. It's going to be uncomfortable. I was willing to pay any of those prices because I believed in myself, and I believed that real estate was the way to generate wealth. Now I know it is. It worked. And I would do all of those things. Like if I tell you, like, hey, if you're in a city that is really hard to, make work, or the prices are expensive, or X, Y, or Z, I'm going to tell you to look farther outside the city. And maybe you're going to have to wake up early. Maybe you're going to, have to figure out, maybe you got to sleep in your car for a little bit. I've done that. I would do that. If it was for the right thing, and I knew that if I could buy this property, I would have to sleep in my car or sleep on a buddy's couch, or I'd figure it out in order to move the needle forward for me to get to that next property, to buy the real estate. Again, with no guarantee that that's even going to work. Being bold and trying and learning through the entire process is never the wrong answer. If you're active, if you're trying and you're like, dude, I don't know that much and I'm really scared, that's fine. I have never been like really comfortable doing any of the shit that I've done. It's scary. Yes, I know that. I've faced the fear and still just gone forward, right? I always say, like, I think my magic sauce is I might just be not smart enough to see the risk in any of it, but also smart enough to make it happen. And that probably, and make it work. And that probably is like the magic sauce maybe that got me here. But if you've been following me or you're in the military, you probably fit into that category where you're like, maybe I'm doing the right thing, maybe I'm doing the wrong thing, I don't know, but I'm smart enough to figure it out. Because think about how many things that have happened to you, and intersecting Venn diagrams, the military and entrepreneurship have a lot of overlap, and they have a lot of stuff that's in common there. And think about how many things on deployment or whatever, like all this crazy stuff that you got dumped into, and you have no idea how it worked or how you were going to figure it out or how you were going to accomplish the mission, and you still did it. Okay. So you do that when you work for Uncle Sam, right? But you're not willing to do that and try that and take that risk for yourself. Think about that. Like we take all these risks for our job, right? But you're not willing to take any risks in the potential and the possibility for greatness for yourself or your family. That's the part that I really like, as I'm talking through all this stuff, that's the part that I really want to hammer home to you is you are smart enough, and don't let anybody fucking tell you that you're not. Oh, you need more experience. No, fuck that. You don't. You need to get out there and you need to do. You need to learn. I explain this. I like it better when I'm on a whiteboard as opposed to this, but it's you're bounding. That's all it is. It's alternating bounding or successive bounding, right? You learn a little bit, then you do. And then you learn a little bit, and then you do. And you can do, I'm blanking on which one was which, but you can do alternating, right? Like you can go here, and then you can go here, and then you can go here, and then you go here. But if you just stick to this, learn, do, and you just keep doing that, you're going to move forward. I promise. And it's moving forward, not having all of the facts and everything perfect. That is where I want you to spend all of your time, because that's where you're going to start to make real gains. And the thing that I talk about, I think probably the most, is you mentally, you have to be committed to yourself. You have to be so committed to the fact that come what may, you are going to get through it. And it's a mindset change, right? But you also have to understand that as you're going through the process, and I say this a lot, it's like, if you're just giving your money to somebody else to manage, I hope they make you a ton of money, right? But you're not getting any experience, okay? My experience with my first business venture, and by the way, like, I brought it back and we ended up doing about $250K a year for 2 years. And then I sold the business. And that was, I was walking away with, I was paying myself probably 45 grand a year, in addition to the real estate, which is pretty damn near close what I was making in the Army, except I had time autonomy. Okay. But the most important thing is win, lose, or draw, right? And I also don't think that there's really such a thing as losing. Now that you know me and now that you're watching this, okay, you either win or you learn. And that's not like woo-woo feel-good stuff. That is the real deal, okay? You're not losing because only you determine if you're losing or not. It's not the rest of the world. You are learning. Everything that looks like a failure to the rest of the world is a learning lesson for me. And I take that learning lesson and I carry it with me on down the road. And sometime in the future, that lesson will end up making me money, or it will save me money in a contract negotiation or on a property. Like, there's so much. Like, I talk about this. I talked about this, I think, on one of the first ones. I lost my earnest money because I was an idiot. I had a shitty real estate agent, didn't know what he was doing, just trying to get me to buy a property so he could get a commission. I was brand new. And I went into contract and I was past the date because I was able to get my buddy's dad, who has been in real estate for 30 years. I was able to get him to take a look at the property. He's like, hey, man, like, this is a pretty good buy, but like, it's going to take you 75, every bit is 80, 85 grand to get this up and running. And it's got some serious structural issues and blah, blah, blah. He's like, it's in a decent area. But I was like, oh shit, I didn't know that. So I lost my earnest money, and that was 100%. That wasn't on my agent. That was on me. So I learned all these different things in this process of, how do I select my agent better? Because most people would be like, I'm going to sue this guy. He did that. Like, no, that's bullshit. If you lose money, if you allow somebody to steal money from you, that's on you. That's your lesson. Okay. You have to figure out how to not let that happen in the future. And that's not to be skeptical of everybody that you come into contact with and be just angry at the world. You need to figure out how to ask the right questions. You need to get better references. You need to get better referrals for the right people and get the right people surrounding you. Okay. Because that whole process also, it saved me like 80 grand. Like, I would have walked into that thing and been like, oh shit, like, this is pretty bad. Right. So then I just waited. I bought my condo, and then, 15, 18 months later, after I did the first one, I did my duplex. And my second duplex, I talk about this all the time. That property is a gold mine for me. That thing was such a good buy, and it was so worth it waiting that extra year and a half or so to wait for the right pitch. Still aggressive and looking and trying to buy stuff, but that property has made me tens of thousands in cash flow over the last couple of years. I mean, just a ton of money, and it's made me, again, tens of thousands in appreciation. And I really didn't put much into it because I bought the right property. I got great mechanical, electrical, and plumbing. I got a property that had a great roof on it. And I was out there looking for it. And people say, oh, you got lucky with that. Yeah, I did get lucky, but you have to be playing the game to get lucky, right? I still took out the debt. I still got approved. I still bought the property. I still went through the whole process. There was shit that went wrong with that one too. But the thing that I'm trying to hammer home to you is I was not comfortable at any stage, to include today. Like, I have not been comfortable. I have been living outside of my comfort level for really the last like 7, 6, 8 years. And then when I started buying properties, I started doing everything else. Like, it's very uncomfortable, but I've also never made more money in my life. I've never been, I've never had a better balance sheet. I've never generated more wealth and equity and compounded my time. And I've never lived a more happy and fulfilled life than I'm living right now. And no, I don't drive a Ferrari. I don't have a helicopter, at least yet. We're going to work on a Black Hawk. That's a team effort. But we're going to get there. But I don't live this like extravagant life, but I have the time freedom. This is my biggest flex, is because I've done all these things that I'm explaining to you guys right now. I live a life where if somebody calls me up and they're like, hey, I need you to go down to Texas. I need you to go to, California and meet this person. I can pick up and nobody tells me what to do. I don't have to check in with anybody. I do my own thing. If I want to spend, if I want to spend 6 hours, 8 hours talking to somebody, if I want to stay on this live, and I got to get up early. I got to go to the gym. But if I want to stay on this live for the next 8 hours and sleep in till 12 o'clock tomorrow, I can do that. Right. And that lifestyle is great. And I highly encourage it. However, it also comes with a whole nother set of problems in that you're no longer externally motivated by discipline. You have to I had to learn a whole new set of skills, because the Army was always like, hey, you got to be here. And like, there's that fear, right? But like now I have to get better and I have to manage my time better and I have to do everything with that great, freedom comes more responsibility, and I have to learn all those things. So it's never easy, right? But in my opinion, it is worth it. And I wouldn't change a damn thing about the last couple of years. And kind of coming back to, my main point here, I know I've gone on a lot of tangents because I got a lot of stuff that I think has value that I want to tell you guys. But it's because I've lived in that perpetual state of like discomfort for really a short period of time. Let's say if it's 5 years, my grandfather lived to be 96 and a half, right? It's not unrealistic that I live to be 100. Okay. But even 96 and a half, that's like 5 or 6% of your life. That's nothing. That's high school. And, you got left back a year. That's, for me, that was high school and prep school. It's 5 years, right? That amount of time has the potential to change your life for good, forever. Because in that, 3 to 5 years, right, you're going to learn so much stuff by going through that process. You're going to build up. Hormozi says it, and everybody, like, some people like him, some people don't. You can learn so much from that guy, right? He always says the best way to build confidence is to have a stack of undeniable proof that you fucking did it. Just, here's all my wins. Here they are on the table, right? Now you know that you have all those in your bag, and you're like, I have this one and this one and this one. I did this and this happened and this obstacle was in my way and I still beat it and I still overcame the odds. You build your confidence by stacking those wins. And in your losses, you still build your confidence by not quitting. So either way, it's a win-win. You're always going to win, right? Like I believe this, and this sounds crazy. I'm either going to accomplish my goals or I'm going to die. And everybody dies, and that's okay. But I am that committed to building all of the stuff that I want to build in my mind and do all the things that I want to do. And I've removed the fear of like dying because I'm just so committed to this. And it's like, it's black and white. That's it. And I'm just completely dedicated to it. And you don't start like this. This is built over years, but you have to commit to yourself. Like, if you're watching this, like, you have to commit to yourself to be like, fuck this, man. I can do this. Like, look at me. There's nothing special about me. Okay. Like, I literally want people to say, if that guy can do it, I know I can do it. I want you to say that. And I want to compete and challenge you to do the things that I'm doing better than me. I want you to be 1,000 times wealthier than I am. I want you to have a massive impact on society, a million times more than me, because I'm already happy from within. Like I genuinely like this lifestyle. I like the people I've surrounded myself with. I like what I built. And you can't it's basically impossible to get that type of mentality and that person off their path, because you just go through life and you're kind of happy all the time. It's a phenomenal, and I highly encourage it. All right. So what questions do you guys have for now? I think there's 0 of you actually on this call, but I'm going to keep talking. All right. We shall keep moving. Okay. So let's talk like Army and entrepreneurship real quick, or military and entrepreneurship. Okay. So there's, I think, some saying out there that's like, a decent plan or an okay plan that's executed violently is a good plan, right? Like you can operate in the military. We don't have absolute certainty ever. It's combat. It's war. It's the war business, right? We've got MD COA and ML COA, most dangerous course of action, right? And most likely. Okay. And those are really the two that we plan for. Most dangerous, like what is the worst shit that could happen, but also most likely. Okay. Most dangerous, what could happen to you? You lose all your money, you declare bankruptcy, you're kicked out on the street and you're homeless. Essentially, right? You lose 100% of everything, right? And then that's cool because you've already slept outside, so you're already probably a decent homeless person. But now you can get back on your feet because you didn't lose all the education that got you to that first part and be like, oh shit, I messed up here, here, and here. I know I got to go talk to this person. I got to get myself back up on my feet. As long as you don't quit, if you lose all that stuff, that's the most dangerous course of action. You lose all your money, right? And then when you're down there, right, you're in the dungeons and it's real dark and like everybody's like, oh, my money's gone. Like this is so embarrassing. Like, yeah, that sucks. Are you going to quit and give up, or are you going to keep moving forward? If you quit and give up, yes, you lost. You lost the game. Okay. But if you're like, man, all this bad stuff kind of happened to me, this really sucks, but I'm going to pick myself up, dust myself off, and I'm going to try and get back on the horse. Okay. That's the most dangerous course of action. Okay. Most likely course of action is you're going to go out there, you're going to take action, and you're going to have to deal with, let's just say, real estate. You're going to probably have a bad tenant at some point in time. You're probably going to have to fix a bunch of shit. You're going to get a call in the middle of the night. Maybe you got to fix a toilet. Maybe you got to unclog a toilet. You're going to deal with some shit. Okay. But what most likely is going to happen is you're going to fix all of it. It's not going to be completely detrimental, although it will be frustrating. Absolutely. I've done it. 100%. All of it. I've cleaned up the most disgusting shit I've had. I ran a hospitality company for like 3 years. I've seen everything. And I've cleaned a lot of those units myself. When I first got started, I did all the cleaning. It was me. I didn't bring in a cleaning team. Like, I did all of it. Okay. Doesn't matter. I did it. Right. So that sucks. And most people aren't willing to commit to that. So, and I lost some money. I lost $25,000. Okay. I've also built hundreds of thousands of dollars in equity. And over the course of the last couple of years, also probably over $100,000 in cash flow. Like tens of thousands of dollars a year I make passively. I learned how to select better tenants. I learned how to fix maintenance. I learned how to build maintenance schedules. I learned how to check on stuff. I learned how to communicate with people better. I learned how to get above market rents. I learned how to create more value for my tenants. And you know what now? They run like a well-oiled machine. That's what most likely is going to happen. You're going to get out there and you get punched in the face a bunch of times, and then you're going to learn to duck or get out of the way and start punching back, right? You're going to slip it, right? Jab, jab, Gary V's thing, right? Jab, jab, right hook, right? That's what's going to happen. You're going to learn to fight. You're going to get out there, and you're not just going to get punched in the face by life anymore. You're going to get punched. Yes, you can't go out in life and be like, oh, I'm never going to get punched in the face. If you want that life, go get a safe and secure job and don't ever watch my stuff again. Okay. But when you get out there, that's what's most likely going to happen, right? So you got most dangerous, lose all your money and blah, blah, blah. And it's also really not that bad because you can come back from it as long as you refuse to quit. It sucks a lot. It is very miserable. I don't want to personally go through that. I don't think anybody wants to, but sometimes you have to. It's like most of the wealthiest people in the world, the biggest ones that you idolize, most of them have gone through that one. They've gone through most dangerous, right? And I don't want that for anybody. But if that's what requires you to get to the next level, and that's what is required, that is the price of doing business for you, do it. And I fully support you. And I'm not gonna judge you when you fall down. I'll probably defend you, or I will defend you, because I respect that you're going out there and you're in the arena, right? That's Teddy Roosevelt, man in the arena, right? I respect that you're out there, and only the men in the arena get the credit. The people on the outside that are, they don't get a say. You have to be in the arena, playing the game, and punching back at life. Those are the people that get the credit. All right, so let's see. We'll kind of probably wrap up here in a little bit. Here's something I also want to talk to you about. The 80-20 principle. Okay, it's called the Pareto principle. All right, we see the Pareto principle in life pretty much everywhere, and I'll say it directly to the military people. Right, you probably experience that 90% of the problems that you deal with are from 10% of the soldiers. Right, 10% of the population. It's a couple of troublemakers that cause most of the problems. Right, and also 90% of the work gets done by 10% of the people, or 80-20 or 70-30 or whatever it is, right? The most amount of the outputs are controlled by a few small amount of inputs, right? But the fact of the matter is nothing is perfect, right? So what you want to do is you want to go with progress over perfection. I get told, my partners of mine have told me this. I learned this very early on. Go out there and be bold. Take aggressive action. Progress over perfection. Get rid of the perfection bullshit. It doesn't exist. The only place that perfection truly exists is in nature, naturally occurring. It's beautiful, right? But in this world, with humans, we're imperfect. We're perfectly imperfect, right? But perfection doesn't exist, okay? So you got to get out there and you got to be comfortable not having 100%. You got to be comfortable getting 60%. Get above half. That's good, right? So focus on that when you kind of, you're first getting started. And then also, like, now that I think I've talked about this for, a good portion of this session, if you guys really get into not just the mindset shift, but then you start to get technical and tactical, right? You start learning how to do research in your market. You start learning about different financing options. You start learning about using debt as a tool to move yourself forward, to gain leverage, to be leveraged intelligently, right? You're not taking on, like, you're not buying a Ferrari when you make $2,500 a month, right? You're not doing that stupid stuff. You're buying a $250,000 property, and you're taking on a couple grand in debt and expenses. You're fixing the property up. You're appreciating it. You're getting it to, be worth a little bit more than what you bought it for. And then you're figuring out how to create enough value to rent the rooms out, or rent the garage out, or rent the shed out, or the barn, or you're figuring out how to make money using your noggin, right? And other industry tools and tips and tricks, and talking to people, and you're figuring out how to get your debt paid down by other people. That's the name of the game. That is how wealth is created. And the medium of exchange of that wealth, people will pay that premium if you create enough value. So you're credited in business and everything else. You're credited with the value creation to other people. Okay. All right. Okay. I'll kind of close down. I'll do a quick Q&A. If you guys got anything, if you don't have anything, I'm going to get to sleep. But I want to leave you with this. Okay. I want you to understand, and most of you probably understand this. Okay. Growth comes from discomfort. Okay. You don't go to the gym and do 5 push-ups or 10 push-ups, and then that's it. You're done. You max your ACFT, or you max your fitness test. You become a Division I athlete, or become a pro athlete. Those guys and girls spend thousands of hours in the gym, working out, trying, and it's, you know what it is? It's fucking painful. I know. I played a D1 sport. It wasn't a very big one, but it was physically challenging. I went to Ranger School. I was in the Army. I was in light infantry units for most of my career. Okay. When you want to get better, at rucking, you have to go ruck. When you want to get better at the PT test, you got to do push-ups. You don't do 5, you do 500. You do 100. You do 50 here and 50 there, and it sucks and it's painful. And then you're going to be sore, and then you're going to have to go do it again tomorrow, and it's shitty. But you know what you're doing in those moments, in those hours, in those seconds, those days, or whatever. You're growing. Growth. The action, the effort in growth is uncomfortable. So if you are uncomfortable, you are going in the right direction and you are growing. That's where growth happens. It comes from discomfort. Okay. I'll leave you with that. Like, getting out there, like, I have grown tremendously in the last 5 years because I've just consistently done shit that is uncomfortable for me. I've tried, right? And I've been successful in quite a bit of the effort and trying. Sometimes I wasn't. Shit happens. Keep moving forward. Okay. I'll leave you guys with that. Would love to see you in the Discord. All of our links are in our bios. Would love to see you in the Discord. That's where we do most of the interacting. Facebook group is also still great. If you are ready to commit and you want to work with me directly, sign up for our paid coaching. It is paid, and I can guarantee you that I will work just me. It is just me right now. You'll work directly with me, and I will walk you through the process that I use to do all of this stuff. And I will shorten the amount of time. I'll shorten your runway, and I'll get you off and flying faster than if you just do all the free stuff. That's a business. Okay. That's what I'm doing. And I want to help you. I genuinely do. You have to commit to yourself. I have spent I added this up the other day. I think it was over 25 grand. I spent like 25 grand on myself, on courses, on education, on seminars, on flights, on food, all sorts of shit. Okay. I paid it was like $3,500 just for the ticket for a 2-day or 3-day seminar. You spend a ton of money. If you want to become wealthy, you have to be willing to pay for education. You won't bat an eye, and you'll take out $50,000 in college loan debt and student loan debt, and then you probably won't even get a job doing the same shit that you went to school for. But you're going to stop and, not pay $500, $1,000, $2,000, $3,000. That's where you're going to stop. So that's not a pitch. If nobody signs up, I will still be just as happy. But I want you to commit to yourself. You have to make that commitment, right? Nothing free is ever really worthwhile. Nothing that you had that came easy. It's not really worthwhile. But I want to help you. I want you to get better, and I want you to go out and do great shit. So if that's you and you're willing to commit to that, I'm happy to work with you. And if it's not the right time, I still wish you the best. So I hope you all have a fantastic night. I'll stick around for like another minute or so. I still think there's 0 people on this call. But that's cool. We still get to clip the content. But I'll stick around. If you guys got questions, shoot them over to me, get in the Discord. Follow us on TikTok. Follow us on YouTube, and hope to see you all soon. So I'll wait for another minute or so, and then I will hop off. All right. I'm going to hop off. Holler if you need me.